September 30th, we recognize National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and Orange Shirt Day. This day is an important step in the reconciliation process. National Day for Truth and Reconciliation urges us to educate students about residential schools, listen to the stories of survivors and families, and understand their intergenerational trauma while honoring the lives of thousands who did not return home from these schools. It provides us an opportunity to commemorate the tragic and the painful history and the ongoing impacts of residential schools and to honor survivors, their families, and communities. This day also highlights the experience of Phyllis Webstead, a member of the Northern First Nations community whose new orange shirt was stripped and taken away from her on her first day of school. At the Toronto Catholic District School Board, we educate our students to grow in grace and knowledge and inspire them to transform the world. Our students are encouraged to be responsible citizens who work toward promoting peace, justice, and the sacredness of human life. We also recognize that there is still much more to do. We stand together to recognize and celebrate the heritage, cultures, and the outstanding contributions of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. It's also a time for strengthening solidarity and support for Indigenous students, in addition to Indigenous education and our understanding at the Toronto Catholic District School Board. Today's events will encourage us to reflect on the diversity of Canada and learn more about the issues and the concerns that have been raised by family members, federal, provincial, and grassroots Indigenous communities. More importantly, today serves as a reminder that we must acknowledge the truth and take action in order to achieve true, authentic reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Thank you to the Toronto Catholic District School Board Indigenous Education Department, along with the TCDSB Indigenous Education Advisory Committee, for your continued guidance and your support. We are so grateful to the many volunteers in Indigenous communities for sharing their time, stories, and traditions, not just for today, but throughout the year within our schools. Thank you, and God bless.
Hello, and welcome. My name is Joseph Martino, Chair of the Board. The TCDSB values the rich heritage, history, and tradition of Canada's Indigenous peoples in shaping our Canadian landscape. Today's commemoration of National Day for Truth and Reconciliation invites us to reflect on the history of residential schools and the lasting impact they have had on Indigenous peoples, their families, and our nation as a whole. Today, we wear orange to honor residential school survivors and raise the awareness of the many lives that we have lost. Today, our schools and offices will hold a moment of silence to reflect on the history and raise the Every Child Matters flag to demonstrate our commitment to education that reflects diversity, experiences, values, and traditions. I look forward to listening to the important messages shared today from the voices of Indigenous peoples as we maintain our commitment to moving forward together in working together, achieving reconciliation. I thank you. God bless. Take care.
Annie, bonjour. We just listened to the Mi'kmaq honor song in honor of all the survivors of the residential schools system. My name is Diane Montreuil, and I am a Métis and knowledge keeper at the TCDSB. September 30th is not a time of celebration, but a time of reflection on this National Day to recognize and commemorate the history and the legacy of residential schools as part of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action. 90% of people living in Canada don't even know the real stories beyond the residential schools. There exist 3,000 reserves and over 150,000 children were forced off these reserves and sent out to residential schools. To date, we already passed the cap of 6,000 children bodies found. Those children who never returned to their families, and many more would be recovered. The real objective of the residential schools was to assimilate and kill the Indian in them. It is an opportunity to recognize and reflect on the tragic history and ongoing legacy of residential schools, and to honor the survivors, their family, and communities. People across Canada wear orange shirts on this National Day to recognize and raise awareness about the intergenerational trauma that survivors had to experience in the residential school system all over Canada. It is a time where we need to tell the truth that will allow us to talk about the unfolding intergenerational damage created in our community up to today. This will allow us to honor and respect all residential school survivors, their family, and their community. So the question is, which action will you take so we could work all together as allies toward the truth and reconciliation and start the healing process? I would like to thank you for taking the time in your busy schedule to listen to my words. Miigwech.